Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Morton Blackwell, president of the Leadership Institute, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this, our April Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. We live in interesting times. Last week, the Institute did our third annual International School of Fundraising in England, and we had 81 students from 23 different countries come to learn how to raise money to fund the conservative and free market activities in their own countries. And one day during the school, I opened up a newspaper and found a little bitty story, as if it was not very big news, about a 66-year-old grandmother who was fined £1,000 for selling a goldfish to a 14-year-old boy. The idea being that to prevent animal abuse, it's illegal to sell an animal to anybody who isn't at least 16 years old. But £1,000 fine, which is something like $1,500. Moreover, she lost her certificate to enable her to care for little children, to a little home care, and they put an ankle bracelet on her, restraining her motions. She was lucky, they said, not to have to go to jail. And all I can say is, if we're not careful, it's coming soon to a nation more important to us than England is. The Leadership Institute has already this year trained 1,957 students, and since 1979, we have trained 83,886 people, most of them students. You have before you the program for this morning, and inside that is our current school schedule, which grows and grows and grows. I urge you to take a moment to review our upcoming school schedule and consider attending one of them or sending a friend to one of our programs. This is a fantastically successful period for recruitment for our schools and for the generation of schools. We have currently scheduled more Leadership Institute schools than we have ever had before in the history of the Institute, and we have more pre-registered students at our upcoming schools than we have ever had before. Quite remarkable. And of course, the schools that are showing the greatest increase in enrollment and registration are schools which relate one way or another to campaign activities. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Andrea McCarthy. She will offer an invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Andrea is the Director of Recruitment at the Leadership Institute, exceptionally busy now. And she is responsible for developing marketing strategies for us and strengthening our position as the leader in political technology training. Andrea joined us as a recruitment officer in 2006. She's originally from upstate New York. She's an alumna of Cedarville University, where she majored in history and political science. Andrea?
Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this gorgeous morning that you've blessed us with. Thank you for the opportunity to come together in fellowship today. Thank you for those that made this meeting possible. Thank you for the food that you've provided. And Lord, thank you so much for Virginia Thomas. Thank you for her dedication to the conservative movement. Thank you for her willingness to come speak to us today. And Lord, I pray that you will bless the rest of our day and the week, and I pray that you will allow us all to glorify you in everything that we say and do as we were created. Lord, I pray all of this in your precious Son's name. Amen. Please stand. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Well done. And now for a brief program report, I present to you Megan Olszewski. She is currently our Director of the Employment Placement Service. As the Director of the EPS, she works to connect talented conservatives with work in conservative public policy. She uses and uses exceptionally well, I might add, new media tools and the Leadership Institute's very wide, broad conservative network. In her spare time, Megan is the site editor for techrepublican.com, where she writes about the intersection of politics and the internet. Before joining us in January of 2007, she worked as a 2006 Victory Field Director for the Pennsylvania Republican State Committee. She managed all grassroots and coalition efforts in 14 counties for one of the most hotly contested 2006 Senate races. She was chair of the College Republicans at the State University of New York at Fredonia for 3 years, and she was lead attorney for her mock trial team in college. Megan?
Thank you, Morton. Yes, we've had a very busy year so far this year in the Leadership Institute's Employment Placement Service, which means that conservative organizations are hiring at a pretty good clip this year, I've noticed. So far this year, we've helped 31 conservatives find public policy positions in the Washington, D.C. area and around the country. Just to name a few of the organizations so far this year that we've helped place conservatives in work positions are the Heritage Foundation, the Tax Foundation, Americans for Tax Reform, the Patrick Henry Center for Individual Liberty, the Center for Competitive Politics, and that's just to name a few. So we're very excited that so far we've are a third of our way to last year's number of placing 114 conservatives in positions, and we hope to go above and beyond that number this year. So far this year, we've conducted 82 resume consultations where I sit down and meet with conservative job seekers and go over their resumes and talk to them about ways to make their resumes better. If you know anyone or if you yourself need some help writing a resume, you never know when you might need that help. Don't hesitate to contact the Leadership Institute, because we can always be of service to you. And last but not least, a very exciting bit of news. We are currently redesigning our website that we use to help place conservatives in jobs, conservativejobs.com. So hopefully later this summer, by the end of this year, we'll have a brand new website that will do even better work trying to help place conservatives in public policy positions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Megan. Let me ask you a couple of questions, because large numbers of people use conservativejobs.com, both to find jobs and others to find employees, and a lot of that activity goes on without our active intervention because it's an automatic site. So there are the numbers that she gave you are those that we can actually document that we had something to do with, but there are many others. Tell us, Megan, currently how many active resumes of conservative job seekers do we have? 1,081 people whose resumes are online. And how many active employers who come periodically to try to fill their personnel needs?
Well, over the years, we've had 1,300.
1,300. So it's a broad and great operation. And now, to introduce our outstanding speaker, whom we are honored to have with us, the introducer will be Patricia Simpson. She is a grassroots coordinator here at the Institute. Previously, Patricia was the purchasing and travel control manager for the Mitt Romney presidential campaign. In addition to her role and she worked in the Treasury Department. She coordinated grassroots ground operations during the Iowa straw poll, the Iowa caucus, and the New Hampshire primary. She's been involved in dozens of campaigns and many aspects of grassroots organizing around the country, and she'll come up here and introduce our remarkable speaker.
Thank you, Morton. It is my pleasure to introduce Virginia Ginny Thomas as our Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast speaker. She is a conservative organizational entrepreneur and the founder of Liberty Central Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization committed to preserving freedom and reaffirming our core founding principles. To advance these objectives, Ginny has created a website, libertycentral.org, which is user-friendly, entertaining, and very educational. Prior to her work with Liberty Central, she was Director of Executive Branch Relations at the Heritage Foundation. She worked to advance, pardon me, allergies. She worked to advance Heritage's policy recommendations on a range of foreign and domestic issues among decision makers in the executive branch. Before coming to Heritage, she handled oversight responsibilities for the House Majority Leader's office. From 93 to 1995, she was Senior Policy Coordinator for the House Republican Conference. And prior to that, she was Deputy Assistant Secretary of Labor and a Labor Counsel for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. She also served on the legislative staff of former Rep. Hal Daub of Nebraska. She has a wealth of knowledge, and I've got to see firsthand some of her work. And without further ado, Ginny Thomas.
Okay, this is fun to be here. I've always heard about this, but I couldn't get up early enough, so. Jason, nice to see you. Good to see some friends here. Good morning, Patriots. You know, I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for that introduction. That was very good, except for my last job was at Hillsdale College. They would be upset. For a year, I did spend a lot of energy and time getting Hillsdale set up in the Washington, D.C. area, and it was a real blessing to do so. And I really enjoy Larry Arnn and the team that he's got, and I have great expectations that they have a lot of good work they're doing. Morton Blackwell has been an institution and a gift to all of us, hasn't he? I took one of his trainings back in California, Los Angeles, when I was working for the Reagan campaign and Bay Buchanan back then in Los Angeles when I was a young thing. And it changed my life. I mean, it gave me action, it gave me things to do, it gave me focus, and I stayed up with Morton Blackwell, and he's a mentor and a friend now, and I can't thank him enough for all that he does. So we should give him a round of applause. Thank you, Morton. And I can also tell you that my last hire came from conservativejobs.com. My assistant to Liberty Central, to the president of Liberty Central, is Alex Harrison, who I went on your site. It was so easy to use. I don't know how you could improve it. And I have to say that I got resumes really fast. I found resumes really fast. And I looked on a Saturday. I started interviewing on a Sunday. And by Monday, I hired her. And I had interviewed 3 other people in my home. So it worked really fast. And it was great because that's how I work, pretty fast. And so thank you for that service. What we're going to do here today is we're going to talk a little bit about current events and what libertycentral.org is going to do. My website is not robust and friendly and educational yet. It's a brochure site, but the site is coming up the first week of May. And I'm pleased to tell you that Jason Torchinsky, who's here today, is the lawyer for Liberty Central, and it's always a pleasure. We've done many things together. He's been a great ally and a real gift to me. So thank you, Jason. Thanks for being here. And then we're going to talk about activism, things that we all can be doing and are doing, things that we never thought we'd be doing about a year ago. We've all been stretching our muscles probably in that regard, and there's more to be stretched in order to when we look at what's going on around us, and I know we share this understanding, there's a historic remaking of our society trying to be done right now, that the leadership in the House, the Senate, and the White House is intent on changing us, on moving us towards a European-style social democracy that's unmoored from the founding principles that made this country all that it can be and all it was, the best hope of the world. So if you take away all the details of all the legislative back and forth, it's not something I've seen before in my lifetime. This is different. This is deeper. This is bigger. And when you take everything away, something I said at CPAC in February, it comes down to a basic question. Are we going to be self-governed, or are we going to be ruled by a very aggressive government? And that's really what's at stake. That's what's happening. And that's the question that we need to make sure everyone that we know is aware, that the question is, are we going to be self-ruled by a document that our founding fathers struggled and fought about and made into a shining document of truth and wisdom, starting with we the people? Or are we going to surrender to a very aggressive government that knows how to rule our lives from cradle to grave? And so are we going to be self-governed, or are we going to be ruled? And throughout our nation's history, everyday citizens have been playing a very important role. And now more than ever, it's our turn, isn't it? It's our turn to come to the front lines. And so I did work at Heritage for 10 years, and I've been all over town for 30 years doing what I do. But I felt pulled to the front lines a little bit more, and I went and saw Ed Fulner, and I said, I am so sorry. I was a C4 personality in a C3 world. And if any of you know the tax status issues, you know exactly what I mean. I mean, if you're hungry and wanting to have impact, if you're in a 501c3, according to the IRS, an organization, you can educate, but you're limited at a certain point as far as activism. So it has been a joy, a blessing for me to become a 501c4 organization who can have more impact, more focus, more direct interaction with educating Americans and activating Americans for the principles that we hold dear. And the progressives have been at work at this for a long time, haven't they? They've been working in our schools and our churches, in Hollywood, and the publishing industry, and the business community, and all over the place. So we've been trusting our leadership in Washington. Who knew that they weren't reading the bills? I mean, this was kind of new to all of us, that they were using, section by section summaries, I think. They had just gotten lazy up there. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, had gotten lazy. And so we need to help them rise to the occasion and understand the significance of what's going on. And it's going to take more time on all of our parts. We're going to have to do a little bit more than we thought we were going to have to do. And but everyday citizens have had a mark in our nation's history from time immemorial. So now it's our turn, isn't it? So without checks and balances in Washington, the only thing we really have is citizen activism. Had we not had the citizen activism that surfaced, starting with the Tea Party movement, is just a blessing in our country. They're amazing people. And the more I've gotten to know the Tea Party patriots and some of my friends and the new citizen activists, I'm so inspired and so encouraged by their dedication. They don't have full-time jobs. They don't have salaries like a number of us sitting in this room have. They are giving of their lives and their time. Some of them are unemployed because of the economy that this country has right now, partly because of the policies that are going into practice. So it's very encouraging to partner up with some of the new citizen activists and help them find a place, help them find resources, help them be more effective. And that's what libertycentral.org is going to be about too. We will have we will be pulling our website up the first week of May. That's when libertycentral.org will launch. And we are busy beavers trying to create the content and work with our website designers. Those of you who've been through that process know it's an energizing, amazing process to sit with such creative people in the technology world and bring something to life. And we are having the time of our lives. I've never had so much fun. We get to do so many things with the technology. I'll just give you a glimpse. We're going to give points for activism. You're going to, as soon as you come on, you take a pledge to activism, and you'll get points for ding, 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 and you get 300 points that will be redeemable at a store that's getting pulled into the site too. So we're going to make activism fun. We're going to make it educational, entertaining, and you can find other people both on the web and in terms of finding each other by zip code too, if you want to connect with people. So it's going to be a major online resource coming this first week of May to educate, motivate, and activate broad groups of citizens whose voice is being arrogantly dismissed because of the focus on the big government agenda going on. It's going to be a place and a clearinghouse where we collaborate with partners. Friends of Freedom will be highlighted in the site. We have about 280 Friends of Freedom, including we hope to reach out to Leadership Institute as a Friend of Liberty, which I know it is. And we're going to unite and activate Americans for the preservation of limited constitutional government, individual liberty, personal responsibility, free enterprise, and national security. Those are our 5 core founding principles that we're going to be focused on. So we're a little bit broader than the Tea Party movement, which is focused on some of those things, but not all of those things. And we're going to partner with as many people as we can to collaborate and make this have bigger impact than we are right now. We're going to seek out everyday citizens on the web and offer them 3 to 5 minutes a day. You can come into this site, find a way to activate, check the box and live your life. But we do need more citizens to get active. We all know it, and we're all doing it in our own ways. But this is just an avenue by which we're going to have a lot of fun and try to have a big impact too. The team I'm building, I've got 6 employees now, and I'm moving probably to 9 or 10. We'll have a team of 6 to 12 summer interns, and we're working virtually right now. It's really fun, and we have a way of connecting every day to keep up with everybody. We have a lot of go-to-meetings virtually and conference calls, and I just love my team. I've got a national coordinator. I've got a business development and marketing person. I have a great managing editor, Brian Fawnin, who came from the Washington Times, and he's moved around Washington. He's fabulous. I've got a woman that I stole from Leonard Leo at the Federalist Society. Sarah Field is my general counsel as well as director of policy. So you'll get to know a lot of these people. The brochure site right now is libertycentral.org, and you can see the faces and the bios of some of my staff that's coming together. And I'm having the time of my life. When I first started, I asked Morton for ideas and suggestions, and he was nice enough to give me his brochure on organizational entrepreneurism, and I need him to autograph it today because it's going into my archives, young man. So it's a pleasure to be here. That's a little bit about us, and so I just want to end by talking about activism before I get questions from you guys. Activism, we've all done a few more things in the last year, I bet. How many of you have done things that you didn't think you were going to do? Yeah. Okay, there's some hands that didn't go up, so we've got some room here to get some more people. The first thing you need to do in the activism checklist, that we're just going to throw out some ideas here, and I'm looking for more ideas from you. You have to sign up at libertycentral.org, because if you subscribe, we'll make sure you're aware of our development and our progression. So sign up at libertycentral.org and get 3 friends to do so too. But I always say start with growing your personal influence sphere. So everybody has an email list. And so if you have an email list, or if you don't have one, make one, but grow it, because a lot of emails are circulating around here, aren't they? Good information, things that you don't read in the newspaper, things that keep you inspired, informed, motivated. So grow your own personal influence sphere with an email list if you don't have that. The public square right now is two places. It's the internet and it's where we're meeting personally. So the public square on the internet is really powerful and capable, and we saw it go into action in Massachusetts, didn't we, for Scott Brown? Everybody nationalized and focused quickly. Money went there. People went there. If you knew anyone in Massachusetts and you were an activist, you were calling them, writing them, what are you doing? Why aren't you out there? And from hearing the tales of what happened in Massachusetts, I saw someone who was a consultant in that, and he lives in Indiana, and he went into Boston just to get the feel of it, and he said, I came up to the headquarters, and there was a line to do phone banking. He's never seen that before, a line to do phone banking, people, like it was a Friday night high school game or something. And then he went inside, and they said, oh, well, you need to go up to the room where they're answering the mail and getting checks and stuff. And he went upstairs, and he saw a room like this that they had taken every time there was a Post-it note or something from someone who was sending in a small to large check, they would put it on the wall. And so the whole room was filled with messages from America about what this race meant to them and why electing one person in a Kennedy-focused Massachusetts made such a difference, and it did make a difference, and it slowed the agenda down. So every time we can collectively focus and energize, we can do something so special together and so remarkable and so powerful and impactful. So that's what we hope to partner up with organizations like the Leadership Institute and other friends in the conservative movement and make sure we have more Massachusetts-like experiences in the coming days ahead. Other activism tips, again, before I take your questions, find other local groups who are doing things. They're sprouting up all over the place. Everyone's being called to the front lines, I believe, perhaps by God, to save this country. And I think we can all find like-minded people, both on the internet and in local areas. Strengthen your core. I need to do some more of that physically, but study groups and reading and friends and learning about current events. We can all strengthen our core a little bit. Make sure you've reread the Constitution if you haven't read it for a while. It was written for us. It wasn't written for lawyers. It was written for us. Sorry, Jason. Amplify your voice. I love being unpredictable. Show up for protests. I mean, who knew that we were going to be doing these things a year ago? But showing up for protests, bringing your flip camera, catching some things that can be caught and put them on the internet. There's things, as the left does boycotts, people are now doing boycotts. Make sure that you help the people who are under attack from the left. Flashlight vigils. That's been fun to watch some of those come up. If you want to shine the light on something, get together. And there's just so many things to do. I tell people to also make up business cards because this is a full-time job. We're networking with one another. We're meeting. So we all have our real jobs, and then we have our political activism jobs. And so more people need to have business cards to keep in touch and find each other as we interact. And I say, don't be mad, be glad too. We have to show thanks for those who are doing good things for the movement. Oftentimes we get so focused on beating up on folks who are voting wrong, we forget to thank and appreciate those who are voting right and those who are showing leadership and stretching muscles on their part. So listen to talk radio. I try to make time for at least Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin a little bit as much as I can. It's hard. I like to irritate the opposition too. You can find easy ways to do that. I have this hood ornament that my teenager put on my car. It's an Uncle Sam hood ornament. And I found that when I'm in the suburbs of Virginia, people are kind of smiling about it, and they like it, and they ask, where'd you get that? And that's fun. When I go into the city of Washington, I get snide looks, and people are offended, who's that? Why would she do that? And I love that. That's just an inspiration to me. So I found that's a little way to irritate our opposition. I find that when I say to people, when I start out speeches and say I'm an ordinary American from Omaha, Nebraska, the left kind of goes nuts. She's no ordinary American. I am an ordinary American who has had the opportunity to do extraordinary things, but I am an ordinary American. So apparently they don't like that. So what ideas do you guys have about activism? What have you done that you didn't think you'd be doing a year ago? Any volunteers early in the morning? Yes.
Preston Miller, Christian Family Property. I went to Springfield, Illinois 2 weeks ago with a group of pro-lifers because the FOCA bill in Illinois was going to go through, and the person who's my elected official there is a really bad pro-abortion Republican woman named Rosemary Mulligan, and I paid her, well, she wasn't there. I paid her office a visit and this little card. Well, we won. Hello, in Illinois, that was not supposed to happen. We won. And I called Jan Schakowsky's office. She's my congressman, and I told him what I thought. And I suggested that she take stock of how upset liberal Democrats are about what Obama is doing, and that she better, that I'm going to vote my conscience, and that I disagree with her, but she ought to take stock of the liberal Democrats as well. And I know they don't like those kind of phone calls, so I never planned on calling Jan Schakowsky, and I'm glad that I told them what I thought. And I think that that's important to do, not just to call the good guys, or to put pressure on those that may waver. The really awful ones also need to hear from people like us. So,
There's another one.
Yeah, good morning. I'll speak for my wife, who's a CPA buried in 1040s at the moment. She is very much of a believer that it is her body, not the government's. So in the back of her car, with magnetic signs, we want to irritate people or make them happy. She has on the left side, Moms Say, on the right side, Legalize Pot. And she now has the most photographed rear end on the eastern seaboard. 2 to 3 a day on 270 taking her picture.
I'm Ed Amatetti. Among them, I'm just non-stop doing stuff ever since Obama became elected, but me and about 18 people are putting together the Rockville Tea Party, and we've got a lot of exciting speakers, including Jeff Cooner, who's on the radio and will soon be syndicated and giving Mark Levin a run for his money, among other things. I've also founded a group called New Renaissance in Education. It's a community of conservative educators. We're going to get together to write a new curriculum, and we're going to try to get them into the public schools. It's www.nrie.org. Please go to the website and pledge to either write some curriculum if you're an educator or talk to an educator who could support us. Thanks. It's April 15th. It's 5 to 7 o'clock, and it's at the Town Square Plaza.
I was watching for Jerry Conley, my congressman. I was looking for Jerry Conley to have his August healthcare town halls, and I was surprised to find, well, I'm not really surprised, but he did it in gated communities with tickets that went through Organizing for America. So I was able to join a protest out on Fairfax County Parkway of Tea Party folks who brought the most creative and amazing signs. I love the homemade signs you're seeing from these people. So I joined a Tea Party protest and a protest out on the street with signs, and it was a riot. I just love it. I mean, I think we have to all stretch a little bit and do a little bit more than we thought we were going to do a year ago. And so that's part of what we're talking about. So in summary, let me just say libertycentral.org, with your participation, will slow down the agenda of the left. It will change the makeup of the House and the Senate. It will restore the Constitution to its proper place. It will make civic engagement fun and educational and entertaining, where we can all meet up there. And are we in time? Can we make a difference? None of us know the answer to that. We just know we have to try, don't we? We have to do the best we can day by day. And so all I know is I'm glad I don't have to ride a horse around Boston at midnight while people are sleeping. We can do this in the comfort of our home, and we can have fun and work together and have big impact. And now is the time to do it. I don't know why we're sitting in this room instead of being active. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Jenny will take some questions. I want to ask the first one. Jenny has had an enormous amount of experience dealing with leaders who are doing their best to facilitate, if not coordinate, the Tea Party operations. And so I'd like to ask you about the intentions of the Tea Party people. We hear a lot about is this going to be a third-party movement that is going to split conservatives? What's the view of the people who are, to the extent that there are people at the top of the Tea Party movement, what are their intentions in that regard?
That's a great question. The people that I connect with, Morton, have a fidelity and a loyalty to the two-party system in our country right now. So I know that the National Board of the Tea Party Patriots, which I've gotten the closest with, that board is committed to a two-party system, not a three-party system or four-party or five-party system. So, you know, Americans are Americans. There's all sorts of diversity out there, and there's going to be people who say different things. I do think that the Democratic Party is trying to pursue people who call themselves Tea Party people who apply for third-party status. So I think we have to be watchful and mindful of the shenanigans and the games that the opposition plays. I am setting up as a nonpartisan. I have taken off my Republican lenses. I also have fidelity to the two-party system, but I feel like it's a free market out there for in a political sense, that both parties should come towards the principles we're espousing. I mean, I have an expectation which party might come the fastest to this set of principles, but surprise me, impress us. Come our way, both parties, and we will give recognition and appreciation to anyone, Republican or Democrat, who's coming our way. But we are going to be at Liberty Central focused on principles and not party. And I think that's true for a lot of the Tea Party people. Questions? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Do you think it's a good strategy for the Tea Party people to stress taxes and big government, et cetera, not talk about abortion and homosexual marriage and national security?
I don't know if it's a good strategy. It is what it is. The Tea Party Patriots are focused on limited government, free enterprise, and fiscal responsibility. There are a lot of, as you do polling of the new citizen activists out there, which we've done some market research, and it's very encouraging. There's a lot of people who care about those issues, and a lot of people who care about religious freedom and social conservatism as we've come to think of it. So there's a big diversity. I think all the right people are coming to the front lines. When we do our market research for Liberty Central, I'll tell you, there's 14 million conservative activists, which is a large number. There are 43 million conservative information seekers right now, which is a lot of people, which is bigger than it's ever been. That makes a total of 57 million people is our audience out there. So you are merely the very tip of the iceberg, the patriots sitting in this room, who you all are part of that. And so I don't worry about how they position. They'll do as they do. It's a great country. What else? Yes.
There's a big 10th Amendment movement going on right now, kind of spurred from the Tea Parties. What success do you think there will be in the nullification movement trying to nullify unconstitutional federal mandates?
Don't have the answer for that. I don't know. I don't know what kind of future it brings. I know that it sounds encouraging, but I'm not familiar with that part of the movement. Next. Yes.
There's some danger of the left moving into our business, and I hope that when you're putting together your website, somebody's got the responsibility to be looking for that attack, because it'll be there every day.
Having started my career with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we've been seeing the left in the business community for some time, haven't we? We've even seen a Bush administration maligning the free enterprise system when it comes to free markets and government bailouts and picking winners and losers from Washington. That's abhorrent. That's wrong. It's not what Milton Friedman taught us all about. So we need to restore the free market and the free enterprise system to the best that we can, and we want to partner with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Has a free enterprise campaign going on. The NFIB used to be a steady, loyal partner. The National Association of Wholesale Distributors have been very good. I believe we can find plenty of allies. There's quite a lot going on right now that is a corruption of the legislative process and our economic system. Policy and practice going on that's troubling in that regard. So, if you're around the Washington, D.C. area, you know of stories where people have felt intimidated to robustly defend the free enterprise system. I know of people who have testified before Congress against some of the left-wing agenda and found themselves in the sights of a federal investigation suddenly, not from the IRS, but from other federal agencies. There's quite a corrupt environment starting to poke its head up that we need to be vigilant and mindful of. This is like nothing we have seen in our country going on. It's been progressing. It's been chipping away and eating away at our foundations, but they're starting to surface more clearly what's happening. And so we all need to be vigilant. We all need to be active. And I thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you very much, Ginny, and I appreciate your coming out. I again apologize that Helen could not be here. Helen had a twice postponed dental appointment. She's got to do a little oral surgery, and Helen is at this moment sitting in a dentist chair, and she would wish she could come. But I want to give you a little souvenir, a token of appreciation, one of our Adam Smith silk scarves.
Oh, I thought it was a tie.
We have two very attractive silk scarves of different designs, and Adam Smith ties and other things such as cufflinks. And if you are interested, and I've noticed a number of you here today are in fact wearing your Adam Smith attire, but you just need to contact my assistant, Kathy Graham. Kathy is here. Raise your hand. She would be happy to show you what we have on offer. I invite you all to join us again on Wednesday, May 5th for our next Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. Our featured speaker next month will be Senator Jim DeMint of South Carolina, and he is much in the news and a courageous and principled man. I know you'll be interested in hearing from him. And I would invite any of you who are interested in a tour of the Leadership Institute to come up here. Seth Nichols, where are you, Seth? Just meet Seth up here in a moment, and Seth will be happy to give you a tour from stem to stern of the Leadership Institute. One progress report, as you can see, the building next door is going up. It takes a long time, but a year from now we should be have expanded from our second floor, absorbing the second floor of that office building. We apologize for the jumble around the building, but that's what construction does. So thank you all, and look forward to seeing you again.